we don't want to waste your time.
Not a problem. Well, since Jill's not here, let me introduce myself briefly. I work with the Virtual Lab support team, providing user support, and I've been working with Jill a little bit to help her sort of get spun up on how to use the VLab within STI. And she thought it'd be a good idea for perhaps you folks to see a little bit about what the VLab's about and maybe give it some thought as to how it might be able to help you as you carry out your day-to-day operations. So let me give you just a short PowerPoint to get you oriented. So the virtual lab is really made up of two pieces. One we call collaboration services, as you see on the left, and then on the right you can see what we call development services. These two different parts of the VLab are actually different types or different applications as well. So on the collaboration services side, we have LifeRay as our open source application, and then on the development services, we have a tool, among others, called Redmine. And so I'll be using those, development services and Redmine, so to speak, interchangeably. But so those are the two halves. On the left side, we see that collaboration services is designed, as the name implies, to facilitate collaboration between individuals and groups of individuals. And they do this within things called communities. And then these communities make available a number of tools that facilitate this collaboration or group working together. Things like blogs, which many of you are familiar with, I'm sure. We have the ability to store documents in document libraries. The person who owns the community can create web content, so basically create web pages. There's also wikis for group development of sort of documents, and then a thing called forums, which are bulletin boards or email lists, sort of. So we'll get a little more into these each as we get into the demo. And then on the development services side, we have Redmine, which integrates a number of tools useful primarily for software development. So you can see there's two little circles down there called SVN and Git, and those are software repositories where people can put their code and then work on it in a collaborative fashion. And then to manage that collaboration, we have a tool called Git, which allows for code reviews so that the software is produced in a very high quality fashion. And then to constantly integrate the various software packages into a single system, we have Jenkins. But in addition to supporting the software development community, Redmine has a really pretty good capability for just doing project management. So you can imagine a series of milestones, a project with a start to end, a number of different tasks within that project, all being able to be supported by Redmine. And we'll take a look at that a little more as we go forward. So I just want to let you know that if you ever want to go to the VLab, here's the collaboration services URL, which is where we're going next. And everybody's a member of the VLab already. All you have to do is log in using your Gmail credentials. So in my case, that would be john.chattel, and then my password that I use to log in to my mail every morning. Alrighty, so let's take a look at what the VLab would show you when you first log in. So this is the landing page. This is the kind of page that you as a user would see. We begin at the top here real quickly. We've got, this is called the toolbar. For me, when I log in, I have a few more tools up here, but for the most people, the most important one is the My Communities drop down. Has Jill just joined us?
John?
Yes?
Sorry, we just got cut off for a minute.
Oh,
We had to wake up here.
okay. Sorry. Okay to proceed? Okay. So anyway, the My Communities will have a list of all the communities you're available to, and so you just simply click on one, and it'll take you to that particular community where you can go to the various pages that are there. You notice this one has two entries for the virtual lab. This is what we call our private pages. Basically, they're for use by members of the community. And then we have the open ones, which are available to any authenticated user within the VLab. So you can think of these as the public-facing side of your community. And then sometimes there isn't that distinction. These are all just private ones for use within the community. And then important to note, we have a help menu, so if you ever need help, you can go and this page will take you to some resources for getting help. We have the user's guide, and ultimately you can contact the VLab admins for help if you have some problem. We're always there during normal business hours. Someone's set up to help you with your problems. So below that we have the very important search area, and one of the real powers of the VLab is its ability to search. So we all have tremendous amounts of information. Sometimes it's all over the place. So one of the key features of the VLab is to bring that all into one place, to sort of centralize it, make it easier to find. And the search tool is a very good resource for locating stuff within the VLab. And earlier I did a quick search just to show you that what it returns is not only entries corresponding to, in this case, a search for Hurricane Irene, but it searches within documents as well as for information that you've already, we'll call it the metadata, so the name of the file or the name of the piece of information. But it also looks down into PDFs, for example, and Word documents and so forth. And then it identifies what type of information it is, so maybe you're interested in just web content. It'll help you segregate that. It also does what's called a faceted search. So this allows you to, if you know something about the information, it allows you to sort of find that needle more quickly in that massive haystack. So if you knew, for example, that this reference to Hurricane Irene was actually in the GFS community, then you could simply quickly go down here and click on GFS, and that would take you to the community and this particular whatever document was there. And there's also other ways that it's faceted. For example, as I mentioned, there's these various types of documents or various types of information, such as documents, forum posts, maybe a web content article. So these you can also tag information, which we'll talk a little bit more later on about. But somebody has specifically tagged this document at this location with the words Hurricane Irene. So when you look under a tag that it's definitely focused at that particular topic. There's also, you can look for things based on sort of dates. So down here, if you knew it was modified within the last day or two, you could easily avoid going through things that are days or years or months old. So that's the search feature. Also on here we have a number of what we call portlets. So I'll be referring to things called portlets, and they're just little pieces of functionality that are kind of built onto the page. So this is what we call the My Communities portlet. It shows which communities the individual is a member of. So this particular individual is a member of the VLab, which everybody is, and then the pilot STI internet site. There's another tab here called the All Available Communities, and this has all, as it implies, all the communities within the VLab, which you can search for things. And for example, we could search for AWC, and it'll bring up AWC. If this had a public pages, you could click on it and go to those, but since this one doesn't, it doesn't provide a link. But this also shows that there are a number of different types of communities. So we have what's called restricted communities, open communities, and then private communities. So a restricted community requires you to ask for membership, whereas an open community allows you to just join it outright. So for example, if I just read this little description and wanted to join, boom, I can join, I'm a member, I can see all the private pages that are available. So those are the communities. And then as you can see, we have a number of this is web content, so this is a web content portlet and some more web content. Alright, so we'll be back to this page in a bit. But next I want to take you to the, we talked about there's a number, there's a number of different things, tools that you have. And what I'd like to show you now is an example of a forum. So basically what we have here is you can have a number of categories. So say you wanted to have a project and then you had different facets of that project. You could create categories to organize these posts, but ultimately you wind up in one of these categories, and you can actually create a new thread or add a post to an existing thread. And what's nice about this is that you create the forum, you have people subscribe to the forum, and then as people post information to the forum, they will receive an email with the contents of that post. And then if you go the extra step to configure the forum with a sort of what we call a function account, function email account, then you can literally be in your Google email client, create a email, send it to that email address. It will then show up in here where it can then be found later with a complete chronology of what went on in terms of subsequent dialogue through the email. So you can see in the case of this particular community, which is the STI Internet community, Jill's using this to capture the taskers that she is generating from time to time, so that anybody can come in here and if they want to know where that tasker is, they can find it in here, and you can also search for stuff. So it's a pretty powerful way to go about organizing what could otherwise be a very eclectic collection of emails. Okay, so let's also take a look at let's go to the VLSD, the document library, just to give you a sense of what that's like. So we have some documents in our document library here in our VLST community, and you can see that they're organized. You can organize them in folders. Then within folders you would have actual documents. And in this case there's just one, so you can do things like edit, you can move them around, you can delete them. Let's go down and actually find a document. Here we go. So these are all PDFs. You can click on the PDF, it'll take you down into here, and you can read sort of through the interface. You can blow it up, of course, to make it look a little better. Or ultimately, if you want to get a copy of it, then you can download the document. And the nice thing about once you've uploaded these documents, there are portlets available, and we can see some examples here. These are called asset publishers. And so the asset publisher can be basically created to highlight a certain aspect or facet of some information. So in this case, what it's doing is it's going through and it's looking through all the documents in the document library, and it's finding and sorting them based on the most recent first. So here, you can quickly get at information that you want that's up to date. So if you want to know what's been going on recently, and it doesn't have to just be documents. You could actually make it so that it gets not only forum posts but documents and web content, so that truly you could see what has changed in the entirety of this community when you come to the website. And for some people, that's what they're interested in. They want to know what's different from the last time they were there. And so that's you can also format these things to look at things that are most popular. So this basically records the number of views, and so the documents with the most views are shown here. And so if you're interested in having people find information based on kind of what's new and what's hot, this is a way you could kind of make that possible. Alrighty, so there's a whole bunch of other tools which we can spend some time looking on if you have a particular interest. But you can see that the VLab on collaboration services side is a very powerful set of tools, and it can really help people organize content and communicate with each other. Before I move on to the development services, does anyone have any questions that I could help you with right at this point?
John, I actually have a couple. This is Jill. Could you show us kind of the tasking, tracking of the Gantt chart stuff? Just the history, if we were to decide we want to establish an OPPSD community, which I think would be a good idea, our kind of next step would be to utilize that function and have a standard kind of tasking tracker, so to speak, once we decide some standard formatting. You want to run me through that?
Okay, so the Gantt chart specifically is on the development services side, and so let me show you that. in response to your question. So here is the Gantt chart, and this is again on the Redmine side or development services. And so you can see what someone has done is they have this project they're calling Rip Current to LifeRay. And so they know that there's a number of different things they're going to have to do. And so they've organized these. Here's the first one. It's got a number of sub-activities, which then have additional sub-activities. And these are all what we call issues or tickets in the Redmine world. But in this case, they're basically, what do I need to do, or tasks. So you can see that here we are at the current time. This red line represents the current time. Some of these tasks were supposed to start here. There's a, let me just show you this real quickly so you have some concept of what we're talking about. So this is an issue. So this is like the interface to create a new one. And so you can see down here there's start dates, there's due dates, and then there's like % done. And then of course there's a bunch of other information. Each ticket has a life cycle. So it starts, it becomes new, and then it can go through any one of a number of different steps of which we all can define. So we call these trackers. And we have a number of different trackers to suit different sort of scenarios, real-world scenarios, one of which might ultimately be an XO scenario. But anyway, so the fields that are showing up on this particular tracker are all essentially configurable if you create a new tracker. And it's these % done which people enter manually. So as a person who's being assigned to this particular ticket, I would then go in periodically as I do whatever it is that I've been tasked to do and update the % done. And so then that shows up, I'm sorry, I have merged those two. That then shows up here. So you can see in this case, it's in progress. It doesn't say how much % done he's done, but he hasn't done any actually. Otherwise, there'd be a little green bar down here. So anyway, this is the Gantt chart, which allows you to essentially define a project and then keep track of the various steps along the way. Yeah, like here's one that's 4% done. So let's see. I guess it's not letting me mouse over this. So you can go down to these different taskers, and you can see that in this case he's been asked. It's called Implement WFO Level Portlet Configuration. Here's the description, and then it's got all these subtasks and things. And so it's basically these subtasks that allow you to create the Gantt chart. And so you could do that for any projects that the XOs might have. Is that getting at your question, Jill?
Yeah, I think that would be helpful. I mean, it would be helpful if we decide to use this tool, and as Laura sends out a tasker to the other XOs, she could do a main tasker with the description, and then the subtask for each portfolio or office, and then when I submit, she wants that subtask complete, and then when all the offices respond, then the whole thing will be complete.
Right.
I don't think it's really hard after the thing is lengthy, but it could be like one-off actions. It could be a tool we could consider, I think.
Yes, and let me show you another thing. Now I'm getting a little more focused in on what you're interested in. Okay, so we saw Redmine, and that has that set of tools. Let's go back over to the virtual lab, the collaboration services side. So let me show you something else. One of the other things. So imagine you're wanting to sort of control what comes into your particular community. We have a thing called workflow. And this workflow, let's say you want to create some web content. Then you would submit this web content for approval from a set of people who have the authority to bless a particular piece of web content. And only at that point would the web content be displayed for everybody to see. Okay, so you could imagine if you were a workflow where Jill sends out a tasker, and the workflow then generates emails to all the people who've been tasked, and then they do something on their end, and then they come into here to the VLab. They would go to their workflow tasks, and then in this case, let's take a look at one. This one, well, let's just go right here. So you click on this task, and it's basically, it says it's a new external partner account request. And it tells me that Shelby Burlew needs a new account. It provides me some information. And then down here, well, over here I have a number of options. So I can approve, I can reject it, I can assign it to somebody else. Maybe I'm not the actual person who's going to work the tasker, so I can then assign it to the person who's actually going to do it. I can update a due date, so give that person essentially a suspense. And then when you come back to this years later, you will have a listing of the what went on. And let me see if I can find a better example, because that's actually one that's just getting started. But we have some completed ones. And let me see, here's a create community. Okay, so if we come down here under the activities, we can see that John Chattel was assigned a particular task at a certain date and time. I responded back to the user who had made the request. I told her that I would be working her request. So that was my first action, was to really just let her know that I had, I received a request. And then I actually have to go in and create a new community for her. So I assigned the task to myself. I went in and created the new community. I then entered some information which was passed on to her saying, I've created your new community. An email was sent out with some additional information, because every user gets the same basic information when we create a new community. So it's this concept of workflow which can be used to sort of model business practices the XOs would have. And you might envision one called the tasker workflow, which would have it has to be a fairly well-defined process. So there's once you build the workflow, it's pretty static in that sense. But it can be fairly flexible. And the nice thing is that it can send out emails automatically. It has a nice history. You can go back and see who did what when, and so forth. Any questions on that?
That helped a lot. So, I guess, John, are you saying that workflow might be the best tool in VLab as an action tracker, or is it a combination of the tools? So it looked like Jill was using forums on there. I was doing that just for my individual record keeping, but like if you were tracking like my response or Sarah's response with for an overall action, I would think workflow would be better, because you could say, oh, these two officers have responded, this one's been, we're 70% complete overall, that type of thing. I haven't used that tool in particular yet, the workflow deadline tool, and John was showing me this query function where we will actually have a series of actions, whether they might be like 3 reactions or only 3 actions, or depending on who the requester is or the overall endpoint is, you can do analysis on like, this month we responded to 4 AA actions and 3 OMD actions, and this period of those and that, and you can have like this query analysis that again I think would benefit quarterly updates on different things, reporting on how well this team is responding to actions, and kind of have like that reporting function on the back end as well, where the task that I'm doing doesn't really have that fully reporting analysis function. It's so helpful, I use it, but I'm not using it for reporting.
So let me.
Is that part of the tasker tool?
Right.
So this is assigning each task a workflow, and type is that, am I interpreting that correctly?
Right. So, okay, the workflow is like a tool, and the way there's several ways you could implement the tool. One of the ways, let me see if I can quickly show you this. Okay, so if I go to, oops, let's go to this community right here. Of course I went to the wrong one. Let's go here. Okay. So this is a form, and basically we're trying to get people to give us suggestions on way to improve the VLab. So there's this form. It's just basically a web form. You enter stuff, you click send. Then what happens is that content gets stored in a dynamic data list. And at the same time, a workflow is kicked off by the form to let basically somebody within this improvement team know that somebody has made this suggestion, and then they can take action. So in this case, it was the form submission that got things started. In the case of a document, you could have it set up so that when the document was uploaded, essentially. I believe you can also do the same thing for a forum post. So if someone were to post a forum, it could set off a workflow. And then let me just quickly show you these dynamic data lists. Let's see, so that's under content. So it's basically a spreadsheet, and you can see here that this one is for the VIT suggestions, and these are the contents of each of those fields that we saw in the form. And then so you can do various things. You know, you can view and edit and delete those entries. And then ultimately what you can do is, let's see, I don't see it on here. I believe there's a way you can export these to a PDF. So you can certainly do that on the Redmine side, and I believe you can do it on the VLab side too, although I don't see at the moment how to do that at the moment. But anyway, so I think you can do that.
Hypothetical here. We're going to task them from Noah, right, saying, answer this question. You sent that email to your forum or whatever you decided on list of things. Can we respond to that directly in VLab versus I responded to you and now I have to log in VLab to tell you that I responded to you. I'm trying to not make them go in and out of the system to just capture them. I mean, does that make sense? Is that a capability?
So yeah, okay, so I think what you can do is there's several ways information can find its way into this. I can post a new thread, and basically I give a subject, I type some stuff in using this WYSIWYG editor, which allows, you don't have to know HTML, you can just sort of, do all the formatting you want. I can tag it down here. I can assign it to which group I want to be able to see, so I can let anyone see it or selectively show it to just community members. And then I click publish, although I can also save, draft, and preview. But ultimately I publish it, and then it shows up back here under taskers. And then at that point there could be a workflow that gets kicked off. The other way to get something in here is to send an email to the email address that's linked to this category called taskers, and it will come directly here, and the VLab will say, oh, okay, I recognize that email address, and it'll pull it out, stick it in here using the subject line as the thread title, and then from then on you can reply back and forth in your email client, and it all will get stored nicely in here. So did I answer your question?
Kind of. I just hesitate to have somebody log in one system to answer a question and then have to log in another. But me having log in here and get everyone's answer, then log in your email to respond to.
Yeah, remember that everything you've either sent here or replies or whatever, they're all coming right to your inbox. So Jill probably hardly ever goes in here and reads this stuff. She just generates it from her email and any replies as well.
Yeah, just keep storing it. I mean, if I want to go back and log in to VLab and see all of the things for taskers, um, I do that from time to time, but it's not a daily thing, that's the thing.
Right.
So she's emailing below. Right. Yeah, they want, she just wants,
Yeah. Just right here is the instruction. See, if you mail to that email address, then it's going to show up in here.
it's gonna all day. And then she has emails from, okay, so then we just keep doing our responses to the same, so that's fine.
Right.
It captures, it uses capture it, but is it, so it's not the same that you capture it, like, alright, so for me, I haven't utilized the deadline workflow tool, which is what I wanted this group to do, because I have to think the workflow tool with those type of taskers is better, than just me, sending emails on my individual SCI taskers. And so I thought this group would be like a good test case to establish the OPPSD XO community, which they have to do a form for that, or put in a justification for it. And I believe, John, and correct me if I'm wrong, if we fill out the form and justify our community, you guys can establish that in like a day or two. And then we would start using, or trying to test out the workflow capability of the tool, and again, we would have to have a very standard naming function. If it's an AA tasker, it would literally need to be like AA dash, due date, and then like something like that. And then the subject. And then so like if it's a lower budget tasker, we would really have to standardize like, MBO tasker or OD tasker or whatever it is, so that way we can go down and categorize, like, okay, we had 47 lower budget taskers, we had, 30 some OMD, or what if for this group, if you wanted to do like a quarterly analysis of how many things we responded to, or, who responded on time by the deadline, who didn't, because if you put in that deadline, and then post that deadline, you'll get reminders, you'll get pinged, if, you establish a deadline of Friday and I don't make it, I would get pinged, I believe.
Yeah, Jill, that kind of capability, so the reminder part, that would be available using Redmine. The workflow from the VLab, to my knowledge, we don't currently have the ability to remind folks that they've got some tasker.
Very simple, basic question. What system is this? Who owns this system? And is this homegrown or is this commercial software?
Okay, so let me get to the easy one first. The VLab is made up of a number of what do they call them? Open source applications. So LifeRay is an open source application that we use. Redmine is again open source. And so we, and when I say we, I'm talking about the Meteorological Development Laboratory, whose director is my boss, Steve Smith. He's also one of the branch chiefs of MDL. And so we packaged all these together in the thing we call the VLab. And it runs on the IDP, which is essentially, well, I'll say NOAA's, compute system of choice. And so to a certain extent, the IDP maintains the virtual machines that we run on. And then the folks in Steve Smith's branch, we maintain the application itself and worry about the functionality and user support, as people want to do things or create new capabilities.
What is your support capability? Anything ramped up and trying to get people
We already have more than that. So, of course, they're not all doing it at one time, obviously. Well, I'm not sure what the actual response to that would be, other than to say that thus far the resources that Steve has at his disposal are sufficient to meet the need. As that grows, then I would suspect that he would ask for more resources. But for now, we seem to be managing to do, the mission.
Okay. One last time, is this part of the IDP business system boundary is credited?
Yes, this is part of the IDP. We adhere to all the security measures that would require. And so I guess in the sense that they're accredited, our application is accredited. Because we're just running on an accredited system.
Okay. I just want to make sure. I've seen too many things in the register that are homegrown that nobody bother accrediting, and people start using, and all of a sudden we're told that we need to make it operational. So just making sure that those are my basic questions. Everything else is fine. Just make sure that that's people knew about this tool and that's something that management was aware of.
And John, just for, I got into the meeting late, so I don't know if you will pick up with this, but the intent of VLab is to go operational for all of Weatherford, is correct? And it will be rolled out officially, so we're kind of just seeing it in advance of that official rollout on, I believe, like later this summer or early fall.
No, we've been operational for, I think, 2 to 3 years now. And we are a resource for all of NOAA. So from the very beginning, I think initially we sort of prototyped it and relied extensively on National Weather Service feedback. But within, I think, a year of prototyping, we were already, focused on making it a NOAA resource. And so it is that. We have a number of other line offices that have development services, collaboration services accounts. So we're operational as we speak. In fact, let me show you if you want to learn more. Let me see here. Okay, see, I've gotten way out of here. Okay, I've gone under Welcome, History. Alrighty, so here is our lineage. If you go back, let me see if I can find okay, IOC was back in 13, and then, let's see, where is the one where we go? I don't know where the operational one is. Well, I guess this is operational at that point, back in 13. Let's see, oh, wait a minute, here we go. No, it was Projects Repository. Oh, no, that's Projects Repository there. I thought there was one that, I guess this is our operational IOC, right there.
Yeah. I mean, I know for me, I just want to poke around a little bit more. Yeah, so I think, John, the next step, I think this is a great first demo, and then, we'll play around if we all have access and can, figure out what we can or can't do immediately. And you might, need to reach out to you for like a, 102 demo or 202 type of demo with more detailed questions from the group. Is that okay with you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, not a problem.
Can we get on here and create sort of a action tracker to play with it to see what it looks like? So I mean, I've looked around and so right now I can in the STI pilot, I can do stuff and task myself, STI trackers, and I did like a couple of test cases before, like when I first learned about it. But what I think we should do is put in a form and at the very least establish the OPPSD XO community to be a restricted community, not an open community, and that wouldn't take long. And then once we establish our community, we can play around as much as we want and do test cases, do like, test chapters, like, and we just call them tests and then name them and until we really decide on like, what you know, even if we don't use you know, workflow, tasking stuff, we can still use our community as it can policies and different things like that. And just having like a repository for that group information even if we don't decide to go forward, I think that that would be cool. Yeah, I mean, that's my personal recommendation, is just to establish our community, start playing around with it, and use it for simple things, if not the workflow. Oh, we have a new SharePoint? No, we don't, no, we had integrated SharePoint in the past, and then not successful, or no, we don't. But my understanding might be from that. That's fine, I don't know, that's okay. No, I was thinking like how. I'm not sure what. Yeah, I was thinking that. Yeah, oh, wow, it was terrible. So, John, what I'll do is, I'll take the task and establish the OPPSD XO community, work with you to get that up and running,
Okay.
and, yeah.
Just one point of clarification. So I'm going on leave for a couple weeks starting tomorrow. So when you submit your request, it'll probably be somebody else on the virtual lab support team that handles it. But trust me, they're more than capable of doing it, and you won't miss me a bit. But just realize that I won't be. It won't be my response that you'll see. It'll be somebody else.
I'll make sure I name drop your name.
Oh, okay, sure, by all means.
John is the Well, thank you, John, so much. We
Sure.
really appreciate it. And we likely set up another round of, education session when you get back from leave. Yeah.
Okay, really good.
And now we get
All righty.
Thank you, John.
You bet. I'll let you know where the recording is as soon as I've posted it.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.